welcome to the Manabar Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Rose. I'm joined here with Matt Samarco.
Hey, what's going on?
And Dan Party.
How are you?
Do we need nicknames? I've been using our full names even. I haven't even just been using first names. Do we want... Can people, find our identities?
I don't care.
You did just kind of give them out. So, now we're going to get tagged on Facebook.
We do need to be time too.
Probably.
Well, I'm not going to start doing that. How are we doing, guys? What's going on?
Doing good. Playing video games. Having fun. Enjoying life.
Matt, you did not look like you were having fun playing that video game earlier.
Which one?
The spaceship music one?
Yes. It was $15 on Amazon.
No, not that. The music one.
Oh, the music one? The music one's fun. It's very stressful, though. Amplitude?
It looked like Guitar Hero.
Actually, we were both playing stressful games at the same time. I was playing Mario the Lost Levels / Mario 2, depending on what country you're in. If you're in America, you probably just know it as the Lost Levels from that Super Mario World All-Star thing. If you're in Japan, it was the original Super Mario Bros. 2, and...
Yeah, that game's brutal.
I saw it come up on Nintendo Online. That's a game I've been waiting to play, the original version of for years and years.
Yeah, did that game even come out on the Nintendo for US or no?
I don't think so.
I feel like it just came out after the fact in a bunch of, weird halfways.
Yeah, I think the first time people were able to play it was on the Super Nintendo, but it was, the button lag was real. That was bad. I didn't enjoy it.
I played it on the Wii, so I had the All-Star game for the Wii, and there was a lag.
Yeah. The one difference for the Nintendo Online thing is really, satisfying, the button hitting on that one.
Oh, it actually is a lot better than the Switch one.
It's the original version.
Okay.
It's the NES version of the game.
Oh, awesome.
And
awesome.
I understand why people say it's so hard. A lot of times, it's not necessarily because the game itself is hard, it's more just, I have to take my time. Because I'm the guy who plays Mario always holding the run button, no matter what.
Those are the rules. Don't ever stop.
That's true.
Oh, well, it's not Sonic, though. I don't have to go fast. True. There's nothing telling me I have to go fast.
Well, Sonic is stop, drop, and roll.
Going fast in Sonic gets you in trouble, too, if you just keep going.
That's the point of the game, though.
Yeah, go fast. I was up in the water, and you just see that countdown. You're like, well, I'm going to restart.
I just downloaded Assassin's Creed Odyssey, too. I'm really excited to play that. I haven't played an Assassin's Creed since 3, so this is huge for me.
There's actually, I don't know, so you haven't tried it yet.
No,
okay.
Just download.
There is an option that comes up. Matt would know about this. There's an option that comes up that says if you want to play guided mode or non-guided mode. It's an interesting. The non-guided mode is legit. They do not tell you anything. It's very much like Zelda, where they'll give you hints, hey, go hunt a deer, and they'll tell you the deer is in this section. So,
are you telling me I can play with or without a Navi?
Sort of, but just the game is so massive, and there's already way too much to do. Again, I'm 40 hours into it.
I can't imagine doing
I switched to guided mode. But for you, I know you really enjoyed Zelda, where it was just go ahead, go to town. And you pretty much can go to most islands. Some of them are, they're pointed out as, or they have a little marker on them that says level 35 to 40. So if you get into a fight, just know that they're way ahead of you or something like that. Just keep that in mind. But,
I'll probably try it without the guide and then switch if I really need to.
Yeah. But it is an adventure. I am pretty far into
that game's a slog even with the guided, so it's going to probably take a while.
You guys have both played. Actually, you've both played Origins and Odyssey, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't played since. I know a lot of things have changed with Assassin's Creed. I've been meaning to play Black Flag. I just haven't gotten around to it. But I know that was the one that everybody raves about.
Yeah, both these new ones are really good. The Odyssey one is a little bit bloated, though. It feels like it's maybe 20 hours longer than it needs to be.
Agreed.
It's a lot of just leveling up, which is fun. Luckily, the combat's fun. The game is fun. Even the side missions are pretty fun. But it does at some point get all right. Where's the boss? I want to move on to the next thing.
Absolutely, yeah, because there's so many forts, and it seems like a big thing with Ubisoft games is go in, find the captain, take him out, go to the next thing. But I did want to ask, because this should influence your game, who'd you play as when you played Odyssey?
Oh god, it was a long time ago. I played as the guy. Do you remember his name?
Alexios.
Alexios, yeah, that was the one no one wanted to play as.
Yes, I played it for 40 hours, and I was just listening to a conversation with him, and I did not love the voice acting of him.
Choose different characters to play as?
Yeah, the man or a woman. And I've now played it.
Inherently different.
The campaign is essentially the same. It's just I personally think Cassandra, the voice actress who did Cassandra, was so much better.
Yeah, it was a real on the street.
Yeah, so again, that's up to you when you play it. But I played it for 40 hours with Lexios, and I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore.
That's probably going to be a lot of my next week is playing that game. Are you still doing Sekiro? Or you?
I did. I actually just hopped back into it the other day, and I don't know for viewers, but there was some wonderful headless person that I was trying to fight who poisons you and slows you down to the point where you can't walk very fast. Yeah.
Sounds like
it's
infuriating, man.
It was, let's just say I gave up after a few fights and said, you know what, let's come back later.
You do anything else?
I did. I just came back from Ireland, actually, and I am obsessed with getting the physical copy of games rather than getting digital, and there was a game called Get Even. It is like a first-person shooter mixed with kind of elements of Condemned and Fear. And it was very interesting. I'm about 3 hours into it, but and one of the other kind of quirky, interesting things about it is you have a gun that has basically you can turn it so you can aim around corners and shoot people without being seen. And it was just kind of this game I'd never really heard of, and it's kind of like a psychological thriller. I don't want to get too much into the story as it is like something that is very suspenseful. But
what platform is on? Is it on PC?
PS4.
PS4.
It's a digital only in America, but they had the physical copy in Ireland. So I was like,
is that region locked?
No. Okay. I also got the. I'm obsessed with steelbooks, so they had the steelbook of Mad Max. And it has like the Ripper car on the cover of the steelbook, and then I got the Resident Evil 2 steelbook with the umbrella and the zombie on it. I was like, oh,
I've had to stop myself from buying a lot of steelbook. I love steelbook, not just of games, but as movies too.
Yes,
I'm very jealous of the display you have. I plan on making something similar.
I have to give credit to my sister on that. She put that together. So, but
speaking of you not liking digital games. He already knows what's coming. So information finally dropped on the Xbox One S All Digital Edition, or as IGN GameScoop pointed out, it's actually called the Xbox One Sad Edition, which makes sense because it's actually pretty sad once you find out everything about it. So it's gonna retail at $249, and basically the only difference between that and a regular Xbox One S is it is missing the hole to put the disc in, so you just can't play discs. It doesn't have a Blu-ray driver. That is literally the only thing. And what's most interesting... Oh, it also comes with Minecraft, Forza, and Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, a bunch of old games that...
Yep, exactly. Minecraft's been out since...
Yeah. They are really trying to push Sea of Thieves, I feel. They are really trying to push that.
I bet they didn't hit the numbers they needed to with that game to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, it hurt that the game was basically like bland when it came out, from what I've heard. I unfortunately didn't really play a lot of it, but as it seems like a game that you really need a squad of, 3 or 4 people to run a ship. So yeah, I heard it was just really, really bland, unfortunately. And it seems like they're trying to at least rectify that by, putting in some more content. But I mean, sometimes, just as Matt talked about in a previous episode with Anthem, it's just once you lose its luster, it's hard to go back, especially when you find something better as the Division 2.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
by previous episode, Dan means the unaired lost episode that shall not be mentioned ever again.
Nope, it's locked.
Until our 100th episode special, where we release that information
and then make fun of ourselves.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
Yeah.
The most interesting thing I found about this is there are Xbox One S bundles with the disc drive that retail for $250.
Don't buy the sad.
Now, who is this for?
But not only that, I feel like this is kind of backwards too, because they have the Xbox 360 backwards compatibility, and they just announced recently. It was last week. They announced Xbox One X enhanced editions of, I think it was the Splinter Cell series. So Splinter Cell Blacklist and Splinter Cell Blacklist, Splinter Cell Conviction, and Splinter Cell Double Agent, all games that were for the 360, they enhanced them, so the frame rate's better, the load times are better, as well as Ninja Gaiden Black and Ninja Gaiden 2. So I feel like they're countering the whole backwards compatibility thing. Yeah, you can buy them digitally, but I mean, like I said, like you said, with the bundle, you can get one with a disc tray.
Yeah.
Why
Big secret.
handicap yourself?
If anyone didn't know, the Xbox One S you can download the games digitally. You don't have to put a game in the drive. You can do the disc or
So you're saying
digital
I can
only
use
on
an
that
Xbox One S as an Xbox One SAT
You can
for the same price.
for the same price with probably a better bundle game for the last 4 years.
Yeah, and so my thought when they announced this, because when they announced this, I wasn't necessarily surprised. You know, everyone's kind of dipping their fingers into the digital market because, well, whether you like it or not, that's the inevitable future. It's not there yet, and I don't think it's going to be there for at least another 7 or 8 years. But when they announced that, I was thinking, oh, so they'll probably release a $100, maybe $150 console, and it's going to be more towards people who either they might be casual gamers, they don't like a huge library, but there has to be an incentive there.
Yep.
And when I found out it was $250, I'm like, who is this for? Like, all of the real gamers are just going to buy the regular one, and all the people who wouldn't already buy an Xbox are just going to not buy one still.
I was on Twitter and somebody posted something about the Xbox One S Digital, and they did a vote, and it was like, are you planning to get the Xbox SAD? 5,000 votes casted, 95% no.
So you can all look forward to getting your Xbox One S Digital Edition for $100 off in 3 months from now when they don't sell any and they're trying to get rid of them.
I mean, it worked for the PlayStation Mini, didn't it?
Yep, $40.
That probably didn't sell.
It's
well
funny
overall.
because I don't have an Xbox One. I have no huge plans on getting an Xbox One, but if they released, if they cut the S down to $150, I would be enticed to do it for the backwards compatibility alone. But that's the only reason I would really want to get one, because the exclusives aren't there.
Yeah.
This thing, I have plenty of paperweights. Paper's going out of style too, so its only function.
Yeah, 150 is the price. I mean, 150 is a price point that I think would be hard to get to, but that's where it should be. So,
well, I assumed it being digital, they wouldn't have to run the discs. They wouldn't need as much power.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I assumed, because I'm assuming when you're playing a digital game, you don't need as much CPU.
Yeah, you're not reading anything off a disc.
Yeah. So, but evidently they didn't cut down on any of that.
No, and it doesn't. It's not Xbox One X, correct? It doesn't have that power.
It's just the S.
Oh, see, that's a huge.
Not to mention, and that's another thing. If it had the power of an Xbox One X, that would be a little different. But again, that power would be wasted because you're not running any discs on it. And not to mention, I was reading an article. I can't reference the actual article. I didn't write it down because I'm a bad, journalist, I guess. They actually still have a lot of the drivers and chips in place for the drive and the eject button. It's like they barely did any work to turn this into an all-digital system. This could have been like a Steambox type situation. They could have made a much smaller machine for a fraction of the price and download Xbox One games onto it or Xbox 360 games onto it, and I bet they would have made a killing. Now, stores are going to be pissed because they have a overstock on them.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a bad system. I feel like they rushed to market, and then I feel like without even actually releasing anything, PlayStation kind of stole their thunder with, hey, PS5 specs. There you go.
Yeah, maybe we should cross over that bridge. Now, on the same day, Wired Magazine had an interview with Mark Carney, who is a lead architect for the PS5. What's that?
Mark Cerny.
Creator of Knack.
Oh, is it Mark Cerny?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's my hero.
Oh.
Creator of Knack.
Well, he's Mark Carney now. Maybe his parents were Carneys. So he released some information on the PS5 a couple months before the E3 that they're not going to be present at. And he released some few tidbits of information, including that the PS5 is, or we don't even know if it's being called the PS5. I think we can all assume. They don't even bother with the code name anymore.
Yeah.
You know what it's going to be called. It's going to have a solid state drive, which is very enticing. 1 terabyte hard drive, which I'm actually surprised it's not more than that, considering games are probably going to be bigger. 8K graphics, which I didn't even know that was a thing.
So many K.
Ray tracing, which is going to be pretty neat, especially if you're going to be playing a game like Cyberpunk. That's going to be looking beautiful with ray tracing. It's going to have PS4 backwards compatibility. That was my huge selling point on that. I love hearing that. It's going to be using the AMD Ryzen 3rd Gen technology. No price, but they said it was going to be appealing to gamers, evidently.
I guess is around 500. I feel like 500 might be a good price point for it.
That's my guess.
That's what I feel.
I think that's too high.
They can't go higher than that, and I think this would be hard to get this sort of technology in a $400 machine.
I heard, not only that, the Xbox One X, I believe priced at $500. So there are systems that have already sold for this price, and not only that, with the backwards compatibility to the PlayStation 4, and from what I've heard, potentially 3, 2, and 1, there's patents out there that Sony has tried to emulate those games and discs to the PlayStation 5, which
that'd be crazy.
It'd be an automatic sell for me. Huge sell. And I mean, I feel like if Microsoft comes up with their system and doesn't have backwards compatibility, I think this race might be over even before it starts.
I think Microsoft would be silly to get rid of the thing they've been promoting for the past few years.
Yeah, the backwards compatibility. I mean, I think it's huge. I look forward to. I think his name is Larry Herb. He's like a big Xbox guy. He always posts when games are going backwards compatible, and he always announces 2 or 3 games. And like I said, just recently was a Splinter Cell and Ninja Gaiden. So.
I guess supposedly it's going to be coming out. A lot of people are theorizing late 2020, so they're probably going to maybe push it at E3 and then have it out for the holiday season.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. It's hard to say. He did confirm in the interview it's definitely not coming out in 2019. I'm really excited about the solid state drive, but I'm also like cautiously optimistic because I know that he was talking about a demo where they were doing fast traveling in Spider-Man, and it took like 15 seconds on the PlayStation 4, and it took 0.8 seconds on the PlayStation 5, or the quote next gen system, which sounds like it'd be crazy, but I just don't trust that when they get new games that are going to be in 4 or 8K, if they're going to be able to do that.
Right.
They're going to kind of leverage that architecture for this much more advanced game, but even if they can cut the time down by like 2/3, that could be incredible.
Yeah, and their new system, which I'm going to codename now Project Sippy Cup.
Project Sippy Cup. All right.
I mean, that's a good name, right?
I have no reason
Scorpio,
not to believe
we have the Revolution. Sippy Cup is right up there.
No reason not to believe
it's better than Wii U, so I'll give you points on that one.
Not wrong.
You would like to play. Yeah, I'm excited for the PS3 backwards compatibility. That's a gen I missed out on because I had the 360, and I know you can't even really download PS3 games on the PS4. Like, there's something with the emulation or something that they haven't been able to get right. But even without that, if I can use my PS4 discs in the PS5, I'll be really happy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of games from PlayStation 3 that I feel like a lot of people would want to try, or if they haven't tried it, or go back to. Metal Gear Solid 4 is one of my favorite games ever made. And the big start to the Souls series, Demon Souls, was a PS3 exclusive.
So would you guys purchase it at $500? No questions asked?
Yeah, I would. I'm definitely going to be day one. I love the early adoption feel, like going into the line, getting that game, bringing it home, and seeing like this like crazy powerful machine like on your big giant TV before anyone else has seen anything like that. It's a lot of fun. My question to you guys is, do you think there's anything kind of like odd about the timing on this? Because it feels like it came out of nowhere. It's not like a presentation. Mark didn't do an on-camera interview. It feels almost like it was like they were forced at some point, or maybe they're feeling a lot of pressure from Microsoft, all the things that are kind of rumbling underneath the water for Microsoft, that they're going to be going to E3 and getting more news. They just had this big discless Xbox release.
I'm going to counter that question with another question.
All right, what is it? Bring it on.
Sony's not going to be at E3 this year. That's been, that's heavily known. Do you think maybe they're going to have some like alternate Nintendo Direct-esque thing during E3 anyways, and like really like push this thing? Do you think that might be why?
It's possible. They might have more news. I mean, I guess it depends on when the system's coming out. Like, you mentioned that it might be late 2020, which I feel like that would be too early to announce really anything. But if they're going to do, March or something, which they've done before, I think the PlayStation 2 came out in March, that might be a good time to release some more information and kind of undercut anything Microsoft says. But it's kind of anyone's guess at this point. Who knows?
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought it was surprising that they announced specs. I thought it was just rumors and things like that, but when it was official by Mark Cerny, I was kind of dumbfounded. This came out of nowhere, and it might have been just, let's just try and hush the crowd, just in case the Xbox, SAD became kind of a big hit. So yeah, maybe it was just them just countering. All it is just a little bit of information. They didn't reveal any kind of text. So to them, they could have said, all right, this is, you played our hand a little bit. All right, we're going to play this and see what happens next.
I don't think it was a coincidence that it was on the same day as the Xbox SAT announcement, but I don't really think of it as a way to counter that. I think they just wanted to get the hype train started early.
Yeah, I'm just excited that Mark Cerny's kind of heading this up again. He was the one that was the developer for the PlayStation 4, and he's been a big time developer for his whole life. He created Marble Madness when he was like 19. He's like a crazy genius boy.
He was Marble Madness.
He was
guy?
Marble Madness. He was like everything. Seeing his games, he's like Jack and Daxter, a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, he worked with Naughty Dog pretty early on.
Yeah.
He needs to apologize to me for Marble Madness. That game creates a lot of madness. That game was very hard.
I'm not familiar with this game.
You legit play as a marble, and you
Marble.
Actual marble, and you roll around and try and basically get to the end of the puzzle. But there's things in your way. There's walls. There's jumps. There's everything.
Super Monkey Ball without the monkeys, basically.
Pretty much. It was.
So you're saying it's a game for me because I don't like monkeys?
Yes, but with 30-year-old technology at this point, but I'm like still fun.
Almost afraid of monkeys. Actually,
they are quite terrifying.
This is a safe space.
I mean, they do fling their own feces.
Well, I don't know. There's just something about them. Everyone else finds them funny. I don't. I just find them off-putting. Maybe it's because they're kind of like people.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
They're kind of like just off, but not quite enough.
It's just unsettling.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the only slip-up Sony has ever really had was the PS3. It was like the beginning era of the PS3. They made it back.
Yeah, $600.
So many things. An unnecessary amount of USBs for 2006. Like, no one needed that many USB ports, and like that was a bulky machine too. That initial one, that was ugly looking. Oh, it was. It really never not became ugly for me. I never liked that kind of curved oval design.
Yeah, I agree. And when they announced the PlayStation 4, I was like, wow, that's a sleek looking machine. But when they announced the PlayStation 3, I was like, ooh, that's ugly. But I mean, then again, when Xbox One came out, a lot of people were joking around that it looked like the VCR. So I mean, I shouldn't really complain because when a system comes out, I don't look at it. It's just I know it looks nice, for initially when you look at it, but all I care about is initially, or I shouldn't say initially, but what I care about is the specs. When it's
what can it do? What games does it have?
And the functionality. As long as they don't have a USB port in the back where you're trying to plug in your plug in your controller and you already have it in a TV stand. You're like, I gotta move the whole thing. So just functionality really, and specs really.
I think the PS3 was the only system that ever came out that I just all around didn't like from a aesthetic standpoint. I didn't like the design of the system. I didn't like the design of the controller. Like, it just had nothing to offer me. I never really had that initial reaction to any other console launch.
Those L2 and R2 buttons were very weird.
Let's just say there's a lot of reasons I didn't get the system.
So that the L2 and R2, I remember they just kind of like swung behind rather than being like a clicky button. That was really weird. But I was going to ask you, do you like the Wii U controller? I thought you also didn't like that one.
The Wii U
pad. Wii U gamepad.
Do we count that as a...
That's true. That's not really... It's more like a television unit.
It's practically the console, let alone
the
controller. I mean, it felt comfortable in your hands. It was just bulky.
Definitely bulky.
It's not really,
bulky.
I don't know.
Felt kind of cheap.
That's like a different thing altogether. That whole console was one big enigma.
It was weird.
I will defend the Wii U. It was actually like I have maybe like 10 or 11 games, and it's actually the ones I have are pretty fun. But the problem is no one but Nintendo made them, so you're basically playing all of Nintendo's first-party games and then like Zombie U and maybe one or two other games.
Yeah, the problem with the Wii U for me was never the software; it was always the hardware.
Yeah.
No, there was some great games for it, but it seems like now all those great games are just being ported over to the Switch.
Yeah.
Not fast enough.
Not fast enough.
I want my Wind Waker HD. I want my Twilight Princess HD. I don't care about Super Mario Bros. Super Duper U Deluxe
with Luigi
subtitle here.
Oh, Luigi U or whatever, Super Mario Brothers U or something, and
oh my god, is there a Luigi U?
There was like a Luigi version that they released on the Wii U, like after the regular one.
It basically was the same thing, except it played backwards.
It's just like they added Luigi to it, basically.
Yeah, and some of the levels were
I bet backwards. They made a killing on it.
I'm sure they did.
They just technically released it with the Switch. the Super Mario Brothers Deluxe U on the Switch. So it's basically both those games like combined into one.
Speaking of the Wii U, moving on to the Switch, we got an update on the new Switch consoles that are supposedly coming out over the next 2 years. So, as most people have heard over the past 2 months, there's been a rumor of a Switch Mini console and a Switch Pro console. And we had some information recently, a report coming from Japan's Nikkei newspaper, that the Switch Mini version might be coming out as early as this fall. And the Switch quote-unquote Pro style is probably being pushed back to more of a 2020 release. And, you know, a lot of the same information, no Joy-Cons, smaller. I did read that it might still be able to dock, though, which is interesting because I feel like you need a different dock altogether, like a smaller dock.
Weird. Like, how would that work? Would you have to get, like, a Pro controller to play it?
If that's right. It would have
the
to
controllers aren't
come with a
if they don't come off.
That's true. That's weird. But not to mention, there was a picture floating around that's been pretty much confirmed fake at this point. It was from behind of a turquoise-colored Switch model. But if someone zoomed in on the information and like the serial number was that of a regular Switch serial number, and it looked like almost too tiny. Like it looked almost like someone took an iPhone and just painted it turquoise, or used that as like the frame of reference to actually do the Photoshop on the picture. Also, you know, apology to you guys if you were looking for this. Nintendo's getting out of the health business.
The health business?
I didn't even know they were in the health business. Evidently, at one point, they were planning
Dr. Mario?
What's that?
Is this Dr. Mario putting up his hat?
I guess so. I guess they were looking at making a kind of a Fitbit almost to track like sleeping and monitoring heart rates and all that stuff. And I guess they said they pretty much gave up on it. I didn't even know they were working on it to begin with.
That sounds fun. I want Mario to tell me to get off my butt.
Dr. Mario would just keep feeding you pills, though.
Yeah. Although he's kind of like counterintuitive. He's like going to say, get off your butt unless you're playing a Nintendo game. You can just stay there. You're fine.
I mean, Nintendo is the console that has actually promoted kids to go out and play.
Yeah, they're silly. Get up. You've been playing for 2 hours. Do you want to get up?
Or the Wii Fit board. Something like that. And yeah, the only other information is that the Switch quote-unquote Pro version was pushed back till next year.
What does the cheaper, like, lower budget Switch look like to you? Like, all I can think of is to not have those sides be detachable. But besides that, I mean, who is this really for?
Well, I think it's kind of like the 2DS, which did sell very well. Oh, there's another ugly system.
Yeah,
that original 2DS.
That is very ugly.
But it sold really well. And if you had a smaller Switch with no detached, less pieces to lose for the little kids, maybe a little more durable, people will buy it.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a little kid thing, because I can't imagine this being useful to anyone that, you know, already has a Switch.
Well, I guess Nintendo is worried about a sales slump, because the Switch is still selling like hotcakes all over the world. Is that still a phrase we can use?
Hotcakes?
Sounds like old.
Yeah, I've heard. Is that a pancake reference? I don't even know what it means.
Yeah, hotcakes are pancakes. I think McDonald's still calls them hotcakes, but like, were those selling quickly? Was there a huge demand for pancakes at one point in our history?
Apparently.
Maybe during the Depression or something.
I don't know, if hotcakes were currency, I'd be poor. I'd eat them all.
They are delicious.
I want pancakes.
Yeah, I don't know. This is really weird, though. But yeah, they're worried about a sales slump, and even though the Switch is selling well, they don't want that momentum to stop. And, you know, Dan, I haven't really gotten your thoughts on the Switch Pro versus Switch Mini. Where are you on that? Would you buy a Switch Pro if one came out?
I would definitely buy a Switch Pro. Again, it varies on what they want to put on it. If it's a bigger screen, better battery, better frame rate, the typical things that they upgrade mid-life.
Better kickstand.
Yes, obviously the better kickstand. Maybe a better position for the headphone jack and the plug. But, you know, I mean, usually a Pro Edition. And then, again, if they pair it with some sort of special edition game, so it's a Zelda version or a Mario version. So they typically did that with the Wii They came with the red one. Then they had the gold controller for the Wii. So if they do something like that, it's a simple sell for me. Again, as long as the price isn't like $400 or $500, which I don't think they would do. They've always been pretty affordable. It seems like that's their big thing to market. Like, hey, we're gonna have a system. It's gonna be great, and it's also gonna be a little bit more affordable than the other two heavy hitters.
Yeah, Nintendo, as far as consoles go, really haven't been too heavy on the special editions in quite some time. The Wii only had a couple. The Wii U only had a couple. It was their handheld market that they had all the special editions for. The DS and the 3DS had a whole mess ton of them. So I'm wondering, that hasn't really carried over to the Switch yet.
Yeah, this might be an unpopular opinion. I don't want to get us sidetracked too much, but I'm kind of not a fan of these half-step PlayStation, Pro, Xbox One X, now this new Switch Pro, because I feel like one of the kind of great things about getting this new system for $400, $500 near launch is you're like, all right, I've got the newest, best thing, and it's going to last me for the next 7 years. I won't have to buy anything else. It'll be able to run the games perfectly. And now you run into games where people are saying oh, this game runs a lot better on the Pro. It runs a lot better on the X. And it's kind of like these early adopters are kind of like the people that are really passionate about gaming are kind of getting a little bit of the shaft and forced into buying these new systems. So I guess, do you guys feel that same way, or?
I half agree.
Yeah, it's tough.
I understand being shafted, especially in a Nintendo version, simply because I feel like the Switch is still so new. The PlayStation Pro came out, was it 4 years after the PS4?
Yeah, about 4 years.
So that's a lengthy stretch, and I know that even without announcing the Pro, there were games that were chugging on the PS4. Like, there are some developers like Bethesda with Fallout 4, or I can't really think of anything else. I'm sure there was a few other ones that chugged a little on the regular PS4 even before the Pro came out. Those games run much more smoothly on the Pro. I don't think anybody should feel the need to be forced to get it. I think Nintendo ran into an issue with that with the new 3DS XL, the one that came without the AC adapter, and they only implemented 4 or 5 games that could only run on it. But I had a fear when it came out that there was going to be a lot more games that could only go on that system, and that would piss off anybody who bought one of the 50 other versions of the 3DS that came out.
Oh, I do remember that. There was a very popular RPG that came out, and it was a special. You could only play it with the new 3DS XL system. I remember that. I forget it. It was the one with the circle red sword. They made the game for the Wii, and then they made the. I cannot think of the name off the top of my head. I unfortunately did not play it, but I know for most fans it was one of the big ones. And then they did the sequel.
Katana?
Maybe. I don't
launch
remember.
title for the Wii.
I have no
where
idea.
You had a katana that you were using. I'm wondering if they ported that to the 3DS and that was the game.
I don't recall.
Either way, luckily only 4 or 5 games utilized that feature. It wasn't any of the Nintendo first-party games did that.
It didn't catch on. Although I do notice that a lot of PlayStation 4 games, if I flip the game over, it does say PS4 Pro Enhanced. Again, I don't know if that's just a tag thing that they try and throw in, to check off a box. But in my opinion on the Pro, I don't mind it. I feel like 4 years in, usually I don't mind either getting a bigger hard drive or maybe the system starts chugging along. Andy, I know you had recently an issue with your PlayStation, so I don't know how long you've had the Pro, but...
So I had the Pro for all of 6 months before it started breaking on me, and Sony refused to fix it. Eventually I realized it was the power source. I had to find a way to replace the power source, and now it's working much better. I don't think that was a long-standing issue with a lot of models, but if you have a PC, you have to upgrade it about every 4 years to keep up with current gen gaming too. I understand it used to be you bought a console and you were good
to go.
The first time I ever remember seeing any type of situation with that was with the N64. You had that expansion pack issue.
Yeah. How many games used that though? Just a small handful again.
I don't know. I got it right away.
I only know Majora's Mask.
And
That was
64.
I thought it was like Donkey Kong and Majora's Mask, and like I don't know if there were others.
This last gen, this was the first gen where we had like the whole mid-tier Pro. We didn't have that with the 360. With the 360 generation, we had a slim model, but that wasn't necessarily more powerful.
Yeah, they always just add in like a bigger hard drive, which is I have no problem with when that gets cheaper. But
yeah.
I mean, not that I have a problem with the Pro. It's just it kind of feels like, I don't want to buy this other whole system. And then 3 years is going to be a PlayStation 5, so I try to hold off.
I'm hoping that, from what it looks like, they're trying to go really big with the PS5, so maybe they don't have to do that. But I mean, 4 years later, I'm sure they're still gonna.
Yeah. I mean, when I saw that they were probably, I think it was one of the advertisements mentioned something about 60 frames per second for almost all games on the PlayStation 5. I mean, that's a huge sell for me, and I don't know how much better they can get. I mean, these companies, when they come out with these systems, they feel like down the road, especially with the developers, they know what bandwidth they need to work with, and possibly having a little bit of maybe an extended drive or something that you can almost like update like a PC. But that is, unfortunately for PC, one of the reasons I can't use one. It requires constant updates, and really expensive graphics cards, it seems like.
I just didn't want to use 8 different keys to have Ezio run up a wall in Assassin's Creed.
Oh, you didn't enjoy that?
No, I just need a controller. I can't use a keyboard when I play video games. I'm not part of the master race. Now, do you guys think that the bigger reason we had Pro models this generation was less about that becoming the norm and more about when the PS4 and Xbox One came out, 4K TVs were not a huge central part of mainstream media. Now they're affordable. The PS5 is planning on going to 8K. I don't think we're going to have 16K TVs in the next 10 years, so I'm thinking that there might not be a Pro version of those systems.
Yeah, maybe. It seems like they're always trying to, because they have to make these decisions like 4 or 5 years in advance. I mean, they've been making the PS5, I'm sure, for like 4 years now. So they kind of have to make all these guesses about what technology is going to be like in not only 5 years when the system comes out, but then like the 7 years after when it's kind of in the ecosystem and everything's passing by it. So yeah, I think they're trying to get way ahead of themselves there. Like, really, who has an 8K TV? I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, the adoption.
I don't think there is such thing as an
8K. Yeah, the adoption for 4K is pretty low right now.
I have no idea. I wouldn't doubt that some
rich
celebrity has
to look it up.
Yeah, so I mean, it's fine. It's fine for now. I mean, just like the 4K, but yeah. I mean, it seems like they're trying to get ahead so that they don't have to keep on doing these iterations. But who knows? In 4 or 5 years, there could be some new technology that kind of makes the PlayStation 5 look kind of obsolete compared to a state-of-the-art gaming computer. So they might have to do another half step for people that want that, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. We don't even know what's really in the PlayStation 5, so it's hard to even speculate.
So Samsung does, either they're making one or it's here to buy. They make it in 65, 75, 82, and 85 inch.
May I ask what the price is?
Yeah.
I don't know. So maybe they're just like making it right now. Oh, shop now. Let's find out.
Yeah, my eyes aren't even that good. Like,
yeah,
this technology is just getting better than my eyes.
Let's do a price guess.
Oh my god!
I'm going 30,000.
Jesus, that's too much. I was gonna say like,
I feel like it's like a custom thing right at the moment.
Yeah, you're probably right, because when you go to Best Buy, those like giant TVs are like, some of them are like 10,000.
Well, you're in luck, Dan. For 36 months at 0% APR, you can pay $416 a month.
Jesus.
That's a car.
$15,000.
All right, I was way off.
You went really big, but
I did. Let's go big or go home on that one.
I was even surprised to see 15.
That is
okay, though.
So we'll see when that's affordable.
They're not going to be common anytime soon.
No, but in the lifetime of the PlayStation 5, that should be the price will come down.
So if we're going by your theory, Matt,
which we always should.
What's that?
Said we always should go by my theory. It's a good starting point.
Let's write that in the rule book. We're always going by Matt's theory.
Yes.
Dan, write that down. Thank you.
Write it down.
They started developing the PS4 4-ish years, so like 2010. So midway through the PS3's run, around that time, like, who thought that right now 4K TVs would be as affordable? Like, technology has been growing exponentially.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
So that means that 2 years ago, they're like, you know what? 4K TVs took off. I bet 8K TVs sometime in the PS5's run are going to be just as affordable. So it does feel like they got ahead of the game.
They're just future-proofing themselves, basically.
Now, Matt, I know you're the PC guy, and I'm wondering, I don't know if you play really detailed games on like the PC. Like, do you have a very high graphics, like a demanding graphics card, things like that?
I have a decent gaming rig. I wouldn't say I'm like a big PC gaming guy because I'm kind of obsessed with trophies and the social environment that PlayStation offers right now, and like the portable Switch and all those kind of benefits. Like for example, I'm playing Apex a lot on the PlayStation. I think one of the reasons I don't want to play on the PC is because one, hackers, and two, the skill level is like so much higher when you can be that exact with the mouse and keyboard. But yeah, I do like playing games on it.
Okay, because I was wondering if maybe going forward, if it's to basically retain the players on the console. Because obviously with PC, all they have to do is put out a graphics card and you can make a game look so much better. Whereas the PlayStation 4, if they were to stick with the initial PlayStation 4 going forward, developers are kind of stuck within that window of, hey, we got to work with this. Whereas, again, now you can have games that have a faster, frame rate, or that load times are a lot faster. But most importantly, and for some games like Red Dead Redemption 2, I feel like it was graphics that sell the game. And a little evil face over here from.
But Dan mentioned Red Dead Redemption 2, and my eye twitched. Can't tell if it was voluntary or not.
He's a little bitter on it, but going back to what I was saying is so maybe it's to keep up and prevent people from just running over to a Steam machine or just a mediocre high-end PC where they can get like amazing graphics and play those games on 60 frames per second. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of games that only play 30 FPS on the PlayStation 4, and then I see it on YouTube, and I'm like, why is this playing so well? Oh, it's on a PC, and I'm seeing it's not even a high-end PC. It's just, especially for games like Borderlands, where they finally got it, a cel-shaded game to hit 60, and yet they're still struggling to get Assassin's Creed Odyssey, to stick with 30. But
I definitely agree that there is that fear, and I do know a lot of people who have switched over to PC permanently from PS4. I'm not one of those people because I love consoles too much, but I do imagine that is probably one of the reasons why they're going so big with this one. I more or less imagine Microsoft's gonna match what they're doing, even with the Scorpio that just came out.
I would hope, and I really hope that Microsoft does not go, into the next gen thinking, oh, we want everything digital and we don't want backwards compatibility. I think that would be, I really think that would be right away, that would be the race would be over. It would no longer be between Microsoft and Sony. It would be between Sony and Nintendo with the backwards compatibility, because I have a huge library in PlayStation 4, and right away just having it say PlayStation 4 backwards compatibility playing discs, huge immediate sell pretty much for me. It's the only question would be, when do I get an Xbox? If they say, hey, we're not doing backwards compatibility, then I'm gonna push that way out until there's that one initial exclusive that comes out, like the Halo or whatever, that really sells me on it. But like I said, that backwards compatibility is huge for me.
I think it's going to be tighter next generation. I think, well, number one,
I want competition. Competition is great. I don't know why people. I never understood why people get into exclusive wars. Why would you want God of War to be terrible? Why would you want State of Decay to be terrible? Why would you want?
You mean fanboy wars?
I think it's great. I think that's what makes other companies better, is they have to compete. If they have nothing to compete against, they're just going to put out a subpar product, and unfortunately, that's going to hurt the fans. The fans are not going to get a quality product. I
don't think the Xbox One S All Digital Edition is going to sell well, and I think that alone is going to push them not to make an all-digital system for their next system, nor did I think they were going to anyways, really. I think they're going to look at their past missteps and really change how they launch their next system, especially with all the developers they've bought over the few years.
One of the reasons I've gotten a little nervous with Xbox is I feel like they've been trying this digital thing for a while, like Cuphead. I've been waiting for a physical release of Cuphead forever, and it still hasn't come out. There is hopes because apparently there's an additional pack that's coming to Cuphead for the Switch and the Xbox, and I'm wondering if maybe they'll just do a whole bundle to come together and make like a physical version. But for the Xbox version of Player Unknown's Battlegrounds, it was you actually got a box, but there was nothing in it but a code. So you got an Xbox box, but there was no code. Same thing with Cuphead. You got a box, but no code.
With those third-party developers or indie developers, that's more them than Xbox, though.
Now, the thing was, though, with PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, you got a physical disc on the PlayStation. So that's what I found a little weird.
Yeah, that was an indie developer.
That was an indie... Okay. But I always noticed it on Microsoft that they were doing the digital version. I feel like they did that with Battlefield 1 as well. They did like some sort of edition, and it came with everything but the disc. And I was like, that's, not something I really want to go into. So with discs, I was very excited, but for PlayStation 5.
What's your view on the whole digital future, Matt?
I'm terrified of it. I love my discs. I love having games. I love being able to sell them. A lot of the times I'll play a game, beat it in a week, and I'll be able to sell it for, 80% of what I paid for, which is not a bad deal for, 50 hours of entertainment. But if you go on the PSN store, I'm sure that's same with the Xbox store, a lot of these games are full price, and they've been out for 4 years. You go to GameStop, you go to Walmart, you go to Best Buy, the game's $10, $20, you can get a bunch of games on sale. So they really have no incentive to put these things on sale if they're not taking up room in these stores, taking up room in the stock. If they don't have to sell it to a retailer first, and then they've got these promised games that they have to get out to people, and then you can't sell them back. So it's kind of rough.
And that's where I actually don't mind games that have the microtransactions in it. I used to not understand that, but now I do. Where if somebody does buy, a new game that comes out, like Days Gone, say it comes out next week, but somebody buys it in a week and a half pre-owned. If they do have DLC for it, at least they have a chance, even years down the road, if someone picks it up and buys DLC, that company still has money that they can make off of that game. So that's why I still love the disc version. I don't like the idea of just having a license and not being able to own my media.
So I have a different view when it comes to digital media. So, for instance, I just said I bought Assassin's Creed Odyssey yesterday. I bought Assassin's Creed Odyssey for $20 because it was available for download on the PS Store for $20. Now, the difference with me is I agree with both of you wholeheartedly. I want to own my media.
Yeah.
I still buy Blu-rays, not often, not as much as I used to. I still buy the game disc when I get new games, more often than not. But when something's available digital and it's very easy for me to just download it, or it's a really good price, I don't hesitate. I'm like, oh, it's a really good price, I'll do it. And here's the thing. My PS4, 5, 6, 7 years from now, PlayStation Plus won't operate on it anymore. I will still own Assassin's Creed Odyssey on that console. It's still there for me to play. Now, if that PS4 breaks, just as if like my N64 broke or my GameCube broke, I will just take out the hard drive and put it in a new PS4 and be able to play it there. Will I be able to play it on the PS5? Maybe. Depends. It's on my library on PS Plus, and I downloaded it through PlayStation, so I'll probably still be able to play on the PlayStation 5. But I feel like I own that media. I only have an issue when I buy something and there's like a DRM thing, because then I don't feel like I own it. Most Steam games I play offline. Hell, even the Nintendo Online NES games that obviously I have to pay the subscription service to get, I can play those offline for up to a week without it reconnecting to the internet. They're actually pretty liberal with that, I feel.
Yeah, I was able to play that on the plane, and I had no Wi-Fi, so I thought that was great.
Right now, the only games you cannot play without the internet are games you bought, like games they gave you for free through their service. Those are the only games you can't really play, and I guess I'm just a little more accepting. Like, whether or not we like it, that's where it's going to end up.
Oh, I think Matt and I know that it is the future of gaming, but I don't. It's kind of like the Dreamcast. I think this like Stadia thing, that the Google Stadia, I think it's a little too fast. It's coming too quick.
It's going to bomb.
I really
think it's going to bomb hard.
I don't think it's, and I really don't. I hate to, tell something like I want it to bomb. But I do love, like I said, my physical media. I like going to the game store. When I go to pick up Days Gone, I'm going to be excited to talk to people about Days Gone. What they're, how long they've been excited for this, what they're excited for. But
I feel like that's a good segue because, Dan, you might not be able to do that for much longer.
I know.
So GameStop recently released figures that it has lost $673 million last year. Now, that is after counting the assets they sold. So that's pure loss. That is a lot of money, and it's just one more brick in the building that is the poorhouse of GameStop. And its stock has been, the last time its stock peaked was in 2013. It's been steadily dropping since. I think we've all seen the writing on the wall since. It's hard for a brick and mortar store to stay in business, and I used to think that GameStop was fine because it was niche, but everything in GameStop you can get other places, like Walmart, Best Buy. All of those places sell video games. You can buy them digitally now. You can buy them on Amazon, get them usually day one, and it's like Best Buy is a niche market as well, but a lot of the stuff they sell, not everybody sells, and not everybody wants to get a washer and dryer delivered to their house when they can, have it hand delivered by Best Buy. So I mean, it's just a matter of time. At this point, I don't think they can really dig themselves out of this hole.
Yeah, this is rough. I mean, they're getting hit from two major fronts. You're talking about Amazon, which is just taking money from everyone. Everyone's just getting these games delivered to their house the day it comes out. They don't have to worry about it. And then you have on this other front, like the PSN store, the Xbox One store, they can just download these games. They don't even need to go into a store. They'll have it ready for them whenever they want. When they get home from work, like they don't have to go in. They don't have to talk to anyone. It's sounds rough. I mean, if you go into, this is coming from everyone here at this table has worked at a GameStop before. You go into these stores, they kind of look completely different than they did when we all worked there, 5, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's like a Newbury Comics now.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of toys and pop figurines and like figurines and things like that, which is kind of cool, but you can tell that they're trying to get away from selling new games, trying to sell different types of things because they're just not making the money off of them anymore. Just there's not as many people coming in for these games with so many different ways to get them.
Yeah, and the one thing I'm worried about is if they do go, because I like recently I picked up a game from Best Buy. I pre-ordered Crackdown, and it came with a steelbook, and I was all excited to pick up the steelbook, and I told him, and he was about to just say, all right, $63.74, that's the total. And I was like, where's the steelbook that comes with it? And he looked at me kind of, with like 6 eyes, like like 6 heads, like, what? And I was like, yeah, it comes with a steelbook. Look at the advertisement. And he's like, oh, we may have one in the video game section. I walked over and found one, and I was like, well, lucky I know about this. But when I do go to a GameStop, it seems like they're on top of it. So that's one thing I'm worried about, that you're going to lose that gaming knowledge that the average salesman is not going to have at like a Best Buy. They're just going to have general knowledge of, oh yeah, that's a television and this. But I do feel that maybe, yes, GameStop needs to consolidate, and I feel like something, and also change their ways, or else they are going to be unfortunately gone.
I think they had that opportunity already, and it kind of passed them by.
Well, they tried something, or they were in the works of trying something a few years ago, which was like a rental service, where you could rent it out for a certain amount of time, and if you went past a certain point, you could just purchase it outright, which I thought was kind of neat. If someone was playing a game that's, maybe an open world or something, and it takes longer than 2 or 3 days, and it's past like the week or something, you could literally just buy it outright. That's your copy. And I think you could pay for it like digitally. Like you could say, oh, this is, bring up your purchase, and yeah, I'm just going to fully pay for it. So it's yours. But I feel like they could make money on, I see a lot of homegrown kind of mom and pop like game shops, and they have basically like tournaments and things where people stay in the store for long periods of time, and they sell sodas, they sell food, snacks, things like that, or toys, things like that, at the store. So it gets the person in the store, it gets them paying for other things like that. And I wonder if GameStop could do something where they do a rental service either at home or for the older discs. Obviously, for some, if things eventually go do all digital, then yeah, it might be a struggle for them, but they may have that niche market of the 360, the N64, and maybe that's something that they could try.
And then they're trying new stuff. I mean, they just came out last week. They announced that new program for Days Gone where you can buy the game and within 48 hours, if you return it, they'll give you full trade-in credit. So you buy it for $60, you play it for 2 days, you decide you don't like it, you can actually get $60 in store credit back. So they're kind of enticing you to buy it there instead of buying it at Amazon. And then even if you do trade it back, that gives them a used copy to sell, and you have to send that $60 in the store anyway, so you're going to come back to the store. So it's not like they're not trying anything. I mean, I think that's actually pretty interesting. I'm going to give it a shot. I don't think I can beat this game in 2 days. It seems like it might be kind of an overwhelming, big, giant open world Assassin's Creed type size game, but I definitely think it's worth a shot.
I'm wondering if that's to entice people who really don't want to buy the game and just want to try it out, or are we worried that that game's going to be really bad?
I don't think so. From what I've seen from previews, from people playing it, they said it's great. I think it's a zombie fatigue. I think that is scaring people. They're like, oh, just another zombie game, just
You mean
another
that
zombie
thing
game.
I've had for like 10 years?
Yeah. So, and I think that's one of the funny reasons why the company is very adamant in not calling them zombies. They call them freakers, and it's like, I understand you're not really pulling the wool over our eyes here. They want to eat you, and they look half dead. I get it. But zombie fatigue for me can come and go, and I'm just ready for an open world shooter.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of like the perfect test case for this. So I typically have been buying my games from Amazon, just like, the day it comes out, they just come to my door. It's nice and easy. But I'm going to give this a shot just because I was a little bit on the fence about this game. It looks cool, but I feel like we still don't have enough information about it. But, if a day and a half into the game, I'm like, this game kind of sucks, I can just go in and say, hey, put this money down on Borderlands 3 because I'm definitely going to buy that game. So that's another game I'm not going to buy from Amazon. So it might work out for them.
Well, I think it's kind of like the gift card situation where they're banking on people not spending that full $60 in store credit.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, I got to go back. I've got $10. You know what? I'll buy this $30 game. And there you go. They just spent an extra $20 they weren't going to spend to begin with.
So, I'm a little... I think if we had to rate each one of this, Dan goes to GameStop the most, possibly daily. He might live there. He might have a cot in the back.
Do you still work there?
I don't know about.
I can confirm I do not live there.
Matt goes probably a medium amount, like once in a while. I never go to GameStop, and now I will say, full disclosure, I've been a bit negative on GameStop in the past couple of years. None of that is because I don't like buying games from them. It's more about the customer service angle, or lack thereof.
It's deserved.
So, because I'm the type of person where I don't buy a ton of new games. I'll either wait until there's a sale, or I'll buy them used. Only very few titles do I buy day one, and then because I do it so infrequently, I just do it on Amazon. Now, I think that there was 2 ways that GameStop could have turned things around, and they kind of missed the boat on both of them already. So, you guys remember the whole story about how when Netflix came out, Blockbuster had the option to purchase Netflix, and they turned it down, and that was basically the final nail in their coffin, and they were out of business a few years later, except for that evidently one Blockbuster that exists somewhere, and I don't know if that's a joke or something.
No,
or
I think it's
really
real.
Does. So, when GameFly came out, I think GameStop really should have either done something similar at that point, them being the only niche game market, or try to buy them out, because at that point they had a lot of capital, because GameFly was probably 2009, 2010 that came out.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Imagine just being like, okay, I got this game in the mail, instead of waiting another 3 days, 5 days, week and a half, I could just go to the store and trade it in there.
So there was that. There was not keeping up with the times, but I think the other huge issue is, and this is something that Best Buy corrected themselves on, even though Dan just had a negative Best Buy experience recently, or maybe like a lukewarm Best Buy experience.
It was just one. I don't know if it was just...
So Best Buy is one of those brick and mortar stores that were able to turn themselves around, because if you look at other stores like Best Buy, there was Sears, they sold appliances and stuff like that, a lot of Radio Shack, a lot of them just withered away. Best Buy was on that path and turned themselves around, not by doing anything special with their merchandise, but they emphasized 100% on customer service above everything else. They're constantly matching other people's prices and everything. GameStop did not do that. GameStop's customer service has gotten worse and worse over the years, and I don't blame the employees. This starts from the top and trickle down. Because the employees are just trying... A lot of the employees are very, very into video games. They're very passionate about what they do. They probably thought of GameStop as this holy grail of jobs. They could maybe start at GameStop and work their way up to being I don't know, owning a developer company or something like that, or making games or something. But a lot of us just wanted, all three of us worked at GameStop, whether it was a side job or just they wanted to be surrounded by that they loved.
Yeah, my first job.
Yeah, it's so I don't blame the workers, but their customer service is horrible. They're never fully staffed. They never downsized any of their stores. There's way too many GameStop locations. It's just all these things that they didn't have the foresight to do.
Yeah, and they have incentives that are working against them. They're trying. A lot of them. It can be hit or miss on which GameStop you go into, but sometimes they're really trying to push used games on you, or you're trying to just buy a game and they're like, all right, well, you got to pre-order something, or you got to buy this magazine, or you got to buy a $2 protection on this game that you don't need.
By the way, there's no need for a protection on a Blu-ray disc.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're still doing that.
I think because I feel like they really try and push it because they say you can break it in half and give it back, and I think for some people that's enticing because maybe they have children. But I mean, for me, I put the game right back in the box, so there's no chance of that happening.
Yeah, and it's hard to blame them because when I was working at GameStop 15 years ago or whatever it was, I remember right behind the register there was a list with all of our names, how many pre-orders we've gotten this week, how many subscriptions we've gotten this week, how many trade-ins we've gotten this week, how many pre-owned games did we sell this week towards new. So basically, how many hours they get per week is determined by these little metrics that don't really have to do with how good your experience was at the store. So
no, that's true, because I used to hate, I wasn't very good at pushing people to buy the loyalty card or pre-order a game. I would be more excited to get them to play a game that I've been playing for a while. I remember when I played Demon's Souls for the first time, I was super psyched, and I would tell people about it. Anyway, I made a little rack of everyone's favorite games, and immediately as a one of the head guys that came in, the regional manager came in, took it down. And I was some people came in and they were like, oh, Dan's playing this? I didn't know he played RPGs. And then that would get into a cool conversation. And I felt mission accomplished in my eyes. I've gotten someone to be interested. They bought a used game. Granted, it wasn't $55 a pre-owned, but they still bought it. They enjoyed it. They enjoyed talking to me about it. They went home and I think a few weeks later, the guy came by and he was like, hey, great choice. And made me feel really good.
Yeah, and then they're going to come back and buy more games from you so they can talk to you and be like, oh, what's your recommendation and stuff.
Exactly.
Well, I think that comes down to the third major issue that I find with GameStop. Dan, you're much smarter than the people in charge.
I don't know about that.
So?
I just think, unfortunately, they have green on their mind, and they don't want to think of anything else.
So the people in charge of the company, I guess you can say this for most companies, but if you think about places like Home Depot, I'm sure a lot of people who are in charge of Home Depot also have to buy building supplies and woods. I'm sure the people in charge of Best Buy have to buy home appliances every time and now and again. How many people who own GameStop and run GameStop play and buy video games or even know what that culture is like? They've been just band-aiding it up for years.
Yeah.
And it's finally, the chickens have come to roost. Is that the saying? Chickens have come to roost?
Yeah.
I don't even actually know what it means, but I know it applied.
You might have to update your tagline.
The zombies have come to feast.
There you go.
There you go. All right.
That was 10 years old.
Days Gone coming this week.
Yeah, so both, Matt, obviously you're getting it. Dan, you getting Days Gone?
I have the collector's edition pre-ordered because I'm super uber psyched about this.
Plus, you also have a very beautiful game room. Development.
That is my pride and joy, which you very much helped design. You had the feng shui you helped with the feng shui of the room.
I rubber banded some wires together.
He did.
Really fun.
I
told you to pick up the trash.
I know, in my own house. I know. I was very ashamed.
I just care. That's all.
He does care. He does care very much.
Matt, you mentioned that 10 new Genesis games got announced for the Genesis Mini. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm super excited. These things are my jam. They're kind of stupid, but I have the Nintendo, I have the Super Nintendo, I even bought the PlayStation, but before you judge me, I bought it for $40.
Now down to $35.
Yes, I bought it when it was
$35.
I did not buy it at $100.
All right. Almost to my price point of $30.
Almost to my price point of $5.
Yeah. I held off until it was $40, and I'll tell you, for Intelligent Cube alone, it's worth the price of admission.
That is true. That is actually technically true.
That's a game that costs about $50 to $60 on eBay for PlayStation, so you're getting a good deal there. Yeah, they have some actually pretty... I was a Genesis kid growing up. I actually didn't have a Super Nintendo. Actually pretty excited about this. Some of the games they have here look pretty good. They have the first 2 Sonic games, Earthworm Jim, Gunstar Heroes, which is one of my favorites, Toe Jam and Earl, Comic Zone, a bunch of other good ones, Shinobi 3, Streets of Rage 2. So
they
did get the good one.
Yeah, they did
put
so
Streets of Rage on it.
It looks like they're so far they're doing this right. I think it's $80. They've only shown the 20 of the 40 games that are going to be out there. Most of them look like games you're going to want to actually play. Comes with 2 controllers. I think it comes out sometime later this year, and I'm looking forward to it. It looks cool.
As someone who's not planning on getting it, so far they have done nothing but intrigued me to want to buy it.
Yeah,
because right now that's half the games that have been announced, and all of those are like AAA hitters. What the only thing I was saying was, if they're going to put Streets of Rage on there, you better make it Streets of Rage 2, and voila, Streets of Rage 2. Are both of them or just 2?
Just the second one.
Nice.
So far, we don't know the last 20 games.
Do you know if they're planning to allow it to play like multiplayer with other people? Like, that would be really cool.
It comes with 2 controllers, so it should be able to play like multiplayer.
Like online? If I got it, and could we play Streets of Rage 2 together?
I haven't heard
I doubt it.
I haven't heard anything about that, and I doubt it. That would be super cool. They should do that.
I didn't realize that you could do that on the Nintendo store with like a game like Wobble.
Yeah, but not with like the mini.
Yeah, exactly. Not these.
No, the mini. But I wasn't sure if it was a possibility.
I would hope that the Nintendo online service you're paying for to play those games would allow you to play them online with other people.
I mean, I would hope so too. But
I would also not put it past them for that not to be a feature.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that is a feature, because I haven't done a lot of that like classic Nintendo games, but that's kind of cool that you could be like, hey, you want to play this game, this 25, 30-year-old game from across the country together?
Oh, absolutely.
Speaking of the Nintendo online service, I actually got my first taste of actually playing a game online today. Because I got the service for free. I was just trying it out. I was actually just enjoying the NES Classic games, but I found out yesterday that just because I was really good at Super Smash Bros. Melee, that doesn't mean I'm really good at the new Super Smash Bros. And I need to get a lot better. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to play online today.
Oh,
what a mess.
Oh, what? Now, the fighting or the connectivity?
So here, the connectivity.
Oh, that's a downfall.
Well, also, I guess I don't play at God-tier characters, so I need to play a God-tier character. Luckily, Marth is one of my favorite characters to play as, and he's considered an upper tier. But here's the game. I only noticed it when there's 4 people, not less. They did pair me out 1v1 at one point, which I got my butt handed to me. But when you're playing 4 people,
he's really good, by the way. So yeah, he's good.
I don't think so anymore.
All right, I think he was pretty good.
I did win once, but that was about it. It might be just because I was connecting through the Wi-Fi, but you'll be playing it, it will freeze. But not just me; everybody on the screen freezes. So maybe it might not have anything to do with the Wi-Fi. It must just be the Nintendo online service itself. They'll freeze, it'll come back on for a millisecond and freeze again, and I'll be able to still hit and play, but it was freezing constantly.
That's strange. I've had a Switch since launch. I still haven't had a chance to try anything online, really, just because Nintendo makes everything so frustrating and difficult to do online. Like with friends codes, you need to give a 16-digit code, but it's kind of alarming to hear that there's that much kind of problems just connecting.
And I mean, that must just be localized within the Switch, the Super Smash Bros. Servers themselves, not necessarily the online as a whole. I haven't heard any issues about Splatoon, because that was playing perfectly.
Yeah, that's true. I've heard only good things about that.
I was just thinking about this, but I'm very surprised that Nintendo is able to be so successful in this market and not have a very good multiplayer. I mean, all 3 of us, we all own a Switch, and we don't play multiplayer games. I mean, Tetris 99, only because that was the only game you can play online. But other than that, I feel like if Microsoft or PlayStation had a bad online system, that would possibly be the death of that system. But yet with Nintendo, they're able to come out with, we don't have a very good communication system with the headset or a great internet connectivity, but we still have games and we still have being able to take it anywhere. And
I think this one thing benefits them, that none of their games are really meant to be online multiplayer. It's true. Not like they're developing their own Call of Duty, but I will say that Splatoon 2 worked amazing when I played it, because I was playing that for quite a few weeks when the game first came out, back when the online service was free, and I didn't have a single issue. So it must just be something specific with Smash Brothers.
Yeah, maybe it does. It does feel like for these last couple generations, they've been dragged kicking and screaming into this kind of digital world where they're just like, we don't want to do this. We don't want you to have a fun friend ecosystem. We don't want you to play games online. We just want you to buy our discs.
But with everything else we do, we're going to promote having fun.
Yes.
As, the
everyone be happy.
Main goal.
Play on your rooftops. Have fun.
Have any of you brought in the Switch to a rooftop?
I have not yet. I feel like I'm shaming Miyamoto. And
every time I try to play the Switch as a multiplayer system with the Joy-Cons, the screen is just too damn small.
Yeah, it is too small. I mean, it's a nice size to have in your lap, but if you're trying to play with multiple people, it's like, wait, what is happening on that screen? It's like it's too little for that.
Yeah. I maybe if they were able to do, well, I mean, they have the docking system, but say you take it to a friend's house who doesn't have a dock, I wonder if maybe they can make almost like a projector, or like a quick plug for someone that doesn't have it. So luckily, when I went to Ireland, my friend had our friend Katie had a dock and Switch, so I was able to quickly just throw it in. We played, You Don't Know Jack. So
yeah, that'd be cool if they had like a Chromecast or just like a small little thing,
something quick to throw it in for someone, because obviously you're taking it everywhere, and like, oh hey, a TV.
Yeah,
I'm sure there might be a third party developer or something like that, a third party equipment maker that might make something for that. And again, I will preface this again. As much as I complain about these little things with the Switch, I still will acknowledge that it is amazing that I can go from playing on my TV to playing a handheld in a millisecond. Like, I fully endorse the system. Yeah. I got it day one. To bring this back around to the PS5, I don't know if I'm going to get it day one or not. That depends on what it launches with, probably. Because I'm not going to, as much as,
Cyberpunk 77, or 2077.
If it launches with that, I'm 100% giving them as much money as they need from me.
I figured. I've been very excited about that game.
I have a feeling that game is close enough to launch that would be a big possibility. I mean, I wasn't going to get the Switch day one until it came with Breath of the Wild, and 170 hours later, and I plan on playing at least 400 more. So
is there 400 hours more that you could do in that game?
Absolutely. I could play it on hard mode through. I could just play it again through. I haven't finished the DLC yet.
Oh, okay.
I just love the game.
I mean, it is very, very, very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope Sony takes a key from Nintendo with that Breath of the Wild and releases like a really good top AAA game with the launch. I mean, I know a lot of people have been talking about Horizon Zero Dawn. It just kind of got like stealthily announced last week when someone leaked, one of the voice actors leaked that it was like officially coming out. So
we kind of knew they were already making that.
Yeah, we kind of knew. I mean, there was no really official announcement, but that's another game that could be at launch. Like, I just want one of those games like that, or Cyberpunk, or there's like 4 or 5 games where if it came out, I'll be like, yes, I have something to play, like something to really grit my teeth into. And I mean, they'll probably be on the PlayStation 4 too, but I still be a nice way to kind of usher in the new generation.
Yeah, and if I was looking at, or I was watching a video, I don't know if you guys know Scott the Woz. He's a YouTuber, really funny, very dry comedy. I like him, and he did a video on, let's look at every single launch console's games. 99% of them are horrible. Like, the Switch was really the only one that hit it out of the park, and quantity doesn't always mean quality either.
Oh, absolutely. I remember when the PlayStation 4 came out, I think Killzone was one of those first games for the PlayStation 4, and then Assassin's Creed Black Flag, but that was for the 360, the PlayStation 3, and it did play well, but it still was, like, it didn't have that magical feel that Matt was talking about, when you have that updated system, with the enhanced graphics, that that's like, oh, this is just kind of ported. And Killzone was one of those first games, but I don't know, Killzone was something that I wasn't super excited about. And I just remember the long wait for a huge, exclusive game for the PlayStation 4. And I mean, now obviously they've knocked it out of the park with, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War. You can keep going.
They did start with Resogun came out on launch with PlayStation 4. I don't know if you played that. I think it was like the first PlayStation Plus game, and it was kind of like a sleeper hit. It was really a blast, like a little space shooter game, and it kind of did show off the potential of the PlayStation 4. But yeah, like you said, it wasn't a game you could play for 60, 50 hours, like show up and like, hey, look at this cool, huge game. But I had a blast playing that on launch.
So I have this thing with music that I like to do where there's, songs, there's good songs, but then there's things I like to call jams. Those are like my favorites of the favorites.
Ooh.
I can listen to them on repeat. The Switch had its version of a jam with Breath of the Wild, PS5 needs a jam for me to get it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to play Resogun on the PS5. That's not why I'm buying this.
I do. I'll be getting Resogun too if it ever comes
No
out.
offense to Resogun, I've never played you, but I'm sure you are a good game, just not like $500.
No, it's
worthy.
not. But I mean, I get these games for these systems for $500, and I'll buy 1 or 2 games at launch, and I know that it's not worth the $500. Typically, it's not worth that money at that point, but I know I'll have it for 7 years, and it'll eventually get to that point, and I'm not going to wait for it to drop $300 anyway. So,
I know I'm going to get it, and that's a good point. Like, if you know you're going to get, you might as well get it while the supply's there.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, look what happened with the Switch, where it ran out pretty quickly.
Well, I was going to mention, too, so now the fact, and I'm sure they'll have some sort of upscaling or maybe a frame rate increase, but you will, unfortunately with the PlayStation 4, there was no backwards compatibility. So when you had that system and you were bored of Black Flag or Killzone, there was nothing you could do. You had to go back to your PlayStation 3. And now with the PlayStation 5 saying, hey, right away it's backwards compatible, at that point you know you're going to be able to go back and play your older games, and I would assume like there would be some sort of benefit.
That's actually an amazing point. I didn't even really think about it. I guess I could just get it at that point, assuming that my save files would transfer without an issue.
I have to believe that there would be something.
There's the cloud save.
Yeah.
All of your saves go to the cloud.
It's definitely.
Yeah,
You can
so
get it
again, so at that point it would just swap right over, and you'd be able to play Horizon Zero Dawn or any of those right away.
If this was Nintendo, I would worry about it working, but I feel like PlayStation and Microsoft know what they're doing when it comes to little things like that, like transferring saves and stuff like that.
I do have to say, has anyone ever transferred something from, I think I can't remember what system.
Oh, with like the 3DSs?
Yes,
The
I
so
love the Pikmin moving this. It's such a silly loading bar. It is one of the most adorable things I've ever seen. To just pick up pieces.
I've never had an issue, because I've had to do that twice. I've never had an issue transferring data like that between the 3DSs. Because it kind of works like how the phones work. I'm just like with Nintendo and their whole like quality of life stuff that they just can't get right. Only a black and white theme on the Switch. I'm still pissed about.
I'm gonna come out. It's gonna be
mention
green. That's just green. Big one.
I think automatically, I should just mention that every podcast until they change it. They're obviously listening to us, right? I mean, they gotta be.
Everyone is. Yes.
We're the number one podcast in this room.
We are.
I mean, if you're gonna keep complaining about the colors, then I'm gonna have to keep complaining that you haven't played Soma yet.
Yeah, I haven't. I just bought Assassin's Creed, so you're gonna have to wait a few more weeks.
I am a big fan of Soma. I got one of those games when it came out for PlayStation Plus for free. Absolutely loved it, and it scared the bejesus out of me. And I absolutely love the story. There's been very few games where my jaw like fell to the floor when the game was done, and this was one of them. And that's why I've been trying to get Andy over here to play it.
And as much as
he already got it for free too.
Yeah, because it was free with PS Plus, and I need that.
It's quick. It's linear. It's about 10 hours.
To keep telling me to play games because you know what a good game is.
Oh, yeah,
I don't think you've ever had me play a game that I hated.
I would hope not. I hope my opinion's not that bad. I'll tell you games to avoid. I'll tell you that.
I avoid most. Like, it has to be really high quality for me to play it.
Yeah, well, I think you'll enjoy Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It definitely has that feeling of, especially if you take off the guided mode, like we talked about earlier. It really can feel like Breath of the Wild.
It's gonna feel like a completely different game to me, anyways. I haven't played Assassin's Creed in such a long time because they started getting so stagnant.
It was, and that's one of the reasons why I really enjoyed the fact that Ubisoft said, you know what, we're going to take a year off, we're going to polish our game, and we're going to put out a good one. And what they did with Origins was awesome. I thought it was great. I loved Egypt. I loved climbing to the top of the pyramids, and then sliding down. That was pretty cool. And then this one was just another really good one, but Matt mentioned before, it is very. It's just packed with, and some of the missions are just like, my baby's crying. Go get a flower. Like,
yeah, that's
right.
why I'm a little worried about you turning the guided mode off. Like maybe just be okay with turning it back on, because it's even with the guided mode, there's a lot to do. It's going to take up a lot of time, so it's not like it's going to.
Yeah, I mean, I'll switch back and forth probably, but actually, also shout out to Ubisoft for what they did recently with Assassin's Creed Unity.
Yes, with the Notre Dame, the chapel being able to. I think they also were talking about giving out the specs on how they rebuilt it.
What they do? Tell me, I'm missing the story completely.
So what they did was, and I actually tweeted about it because I thought it was really cool. Is first of all, they made Assassin's Creed Unity free, which takes place in the city where the chapel is, and at one of the points you could climb up to it, and it was the one thing that Ubisoft has always done in every single game is make a beautiful landscape. The worlds are immersive, everything from Boston to France to Italy, everywhere, and there's nothing about Assassin's Creed Unity was any different. The world was beautiful, and so what they did is I believe they donated some money to the cause for the reconstruction of the chapel. Hang on, I tweeted it right here.
That's cool.
So the tweet reads from Assassin's Creed: in solidarity with everyone moved by Monday's events, we're donating to the restoration for Notre Dame and giving you the chance to play Assassin's Creed Unity on Uplay for free.
Oh,
so I was
awesome.
like, that is a pretty cool gesture. In spite of a terrible situation, and on top of that, I know I'm probably one of the few people that actually enjoyed Unity after their little fiasco at the beginning with a lot of creepy bugs of like people's skin just disappearing and just seeing floating teeth and eyeballs. But
I love seeing those videos.
I mean, it's funny, but I actually enjoyed Arno. I think his name was Arno Dorian's story. I thought it was great.
Well, I think the big thing about this is it's not like it was warranted. It's not like when this happened, people were calling for them to do this. They just out of nowhere said, "Oh, we're doing this." Is
cool.
Ubisoft based out of France?
I don't know. I know they have one in Montreal, but I'm pretty sure they have.
Maybe it did feel like it kind of hit close to home then.
I mean, absolutely, but they still, you're not obligated to do it.
No,
I mean, I thought that was
nobody's
great.
obligated to do anything. But I mean, whenever you see a company or a person just being good, it does warm your heart to know that.
Yeah,
someone's giving a shit.
Yeah, it's really cool. I hope it's still available. I'm gonna go download it after this podcast.
Yeah,
give it a shot. I never played.
It was good.
I never used Uplay. Is that their online service or whatever?
Yeah. It's essentially like
everybody has one now.
Yeah,
I'm
pretty
just
much.
Not aware.
You open a launcher for every different company at this point.
Origins and things like that. You might be able to download it right from like the PlayStation. You might just go into like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, go to Uplay, and that might be just like a thing to check about. I just noticed that they had it on the when they tweeted it out, they said it was Uplay for free. So
and even going back to like the first couple Assassin's Creeds, for the time those worlds were very beautiful, very big. So yeah, they've had a few missteps, but it seems like Assassin's Creed has really come back around. Hopefully it doesn't go back in the opposite direction where they start, pooping one out every year.
I hope not. I mean, there is apparently in one of their games, there's a teaser that the next one might be in Viking World.
Ooh.
So that's...
I want to play a game called Viking World.
No,
that's
not what it's called.
Like park?
Welcome to Viking World.
Everyone gets to wear a really inaccurate hat that has huge horns on it. It's great.
But I believe it was in The Division. There was an Easter egg regarding Assassin's Creed being the next area that they would go as Vikings.
Just an accident because they use the same engine for everything.
Could be
for everything.
I'm a little sad, to be honest. I was hoping that they would maybe go to Japan.
I would love that.
I think not only that,
and me would absolutely.
I feel like they would nail the atmosphere. And I feel like with this combat style that they're going for, I feel like the samurai fighting would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
So.
Hope they do that at some point.
So I hope they do that. I mean, I guess maybe they want to wait because I know there's a few samurai games that are coming out. The one for PlayStation that's exclusive. Oh God, I can't think of it off the top of my head. Oh my God, I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Dead air.
I know.
Stay on target.
I'm trying, but there's an exclusive PlayStation game coming out, and
Ubisoft.
No, it's actually made.
This is what happened when the host isn't listening to the show.
No, it's exclusively from Sony, and it's a samurai game. It was one of the big ones that they showed. There was.
Oh
yes,
I know the one you're talking about.
Exactly. I can't the name of it is escaping me at the moment, but
Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Tsushima.
Yes,
such a hard name.
Yes,
I just looked it up. I mean, we all knew. We were just testing the audience.
Exactly. So Ghost of Tsushima is coming out. I don't know if maybe they heard, maybe in the air like, oh God, this is going to be a really good like samurai game. Maybe we should just kind of do something else and then come back. Especially when they have multiple studios working on Assassin's Creed games.
Now, luckily, even with all the issues that Ubisoft has had with some of their games, I mean, you don't really hear any of the same issues from them that you've heard about BioWare. Like, it's a pretty tight ship, I feel.
Yeah, they make good games.
Yeah, I do feel like they have. Unfortunately, some of their games can feel formulaic and very.
Yeah.
I really really enjoyed Ghost Recon Wildlands, but 30 hours into it, you're doing the same thing. You throw your.
They have their open world niche.
Exactly.
We could turn this into a 4-hour conversation someday, but that's what keeps me away from not specifically Ubisoft games. But the reason I don't buy every single AAA title that comes out is because of that reason. Like, there needs to be something there for me that just doesn't seem formulaic. Just do something new. That's like, how many games came out in February that were like the same game? There was The Division 2, Battlefield 5, Call of Duty Black Ops. Did that come out around the same time?
That was a little earlier.
Anthem. I just feel like they kind of all run together for me.
Yeah, I mean, they are the same.
I'm not saying that if Battlefield 5 was exactly like The Division 2. I know that's a bit of a stretch. I'm just saying, like, I see The Division 2 or Ghost Recon Wildlands, and I just look at the game and I'm like, I've pretty much played that, I feel, you know?
Yeah, and I see that's why, especially with Sony nailing a lot of, at least the story part of all of their exclusives, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, Uncharted series, I feel like this Days Gone, on top of being an excellent zombie game, I feel like it's going to have a really good story. I mean, there's 6, according to the Ben studio that makes it, the game, pretty much just the single-player game alone is 30 hours, and they said 6 hours of cutscenes. I was like, this is bringing me back to like Metal Gear, where you'd sit down, you put the controller down, and you would just watch and enjoy. Because I feel like a lot of games, unfortunately, they even like you can make a fetch quest interesting as long as you tell a story that connects it. Because I mean, technically, if you cut out all the talking between characters, what is it? It's like, go kill this thing or go pick up this thing. But that was one thing that was very special for Metal Gear. Yeah, granted, you were just following a path, but at the end, an arch nemesis would come out and, of course, talk your ear off. But still, it was still epic, and that's something, going back to Metal Gear that I've always loved. So when I saw 6 hours of cutscenes in Days Gone with a 24-hour campaign, never mind doing the extra stuff, I know I'm going to play the crap out of this game.
Is one of the things that entices me about a game is the length.
Yeah.
Like 24, like, I used to I used to be pretty upset that the whole 10-hour campaign thing, because I felt like that just wasn't enough time. But then the more I realized, like, oh no, that's probably like a pretty good time to settle on for a game. But then when I find out something's going to be like 24 hours, I'm like, ooh, the content in the game.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I mean, it is funny because Skyrim. Did you beat Skyrim, Andy?
No.
You did not? Okay, I thought you did. Did you beat it, Matt?
No, I didn't either.
You did not.
I always got stuck in the second town.
If you have 3 hours, you can beat that campaign. That's the funny thing. The game is so short.
Well, it's the same thing with a lot of those really, really big open world games, especially the Bethesda ones. I mean, you can pretty much beat all the main campaigns pretty quickly if you wanted to. It's the side stuff that makes those games.
Well, true, but that's why I'm extremely excited for Days Gone. That they said if you're playing the single player alone, it'll take you 24 hours, 6 hours of cutscenes with that. So that's what made me super excited. On top of that, if they have a bunch of, I think they said there's around 50 horde packs all around the world that you can take down. So if you want to wipe them all out, I know sometimes those can be with Assassin's Creed where it's like, oh yeah, take over every base. It's like, ugh, I don't feel like doing that. Or the big thing I remember in Assassin's Creed 1 was like, oh yeah, capture all the flags. It was like, oh, it's like there's this one like 600 meters in the air. It's like, I'm not getting that one. I'm not. No. They can't. I'm sorry. A little blip coming on the bottom of the screen saying 5 points achieved. It's like, that's not worth it for me. So, but for this game, I'm very excited for driving the motorcycle around, just shooting some zombies. I love gun games. I haven't played enough open world gun games in third person. And like I said, this is one game I am super, super stoked about.
And that's a huge difference between you and Matt. You two are the polar opposites as far as how long you play a game or what you do in a game. Matt is a 100%er completionist. Dan's like he might play a game for an hour and then move on to the other 80 games he's playing in conjunction with that other game. You'll at least beat the story, usually in a game, but like to you, it's not worth it to go out and chasing those achievements. Me, it's like off and on. Depends on the game.
It depends. Like some games
platinums.
some games that I fall in love with, like Fallout 4, I'd want to do it, but
that measures his entire existence on getting those platinums.
Yeah, I don't have that many. I just, whenever there's one that's like possible to get, that reminds me. I was trying to get one. We were talking about Assassin's Creed earlier. I was trying to get one from the latest Assassin's Creed game, and there's one trophy where at the very beginning of the game, there's a Cyclops, and you take his eye and you kind of put it in
a goat, right?
Put it in a goat, like his butt.
Yep.
And so you can actually go in this island, kill a bunch of goat, and you'll eventually find the goat that has this eye in it, and it'll drop as like an item that you can get, and that unlocks a trophy. So when I was done with just about every other trophy, I was 60, 70 hours into the game. I was on this island for like 5-10 hours just killing goats after goats after goats, trying to get this goddamn eye from this, supposed to be in one of their butts basically, and I couldn't find it. Eventually I was looking up online, and it's supposed to happen after like just like 10 or 20, so it must have been some glitch, but I just spent like 10 hours.
Matt, this is a G-rated affair. We use this filter.
I'm trying very hard to be good here, but it was very difficult, and still frustrated about that trophy because that was such a long game, and I got so many difficult trophies, and then I just gave up after that one because I was so sick of it.
I felt really bad because I actually found it by an accident. After you killed the Cyclops, I ran up and there was just a deer in my way, so I swiped at him and it dropped, and I was like, "What is that?" Oh, right, she put it in right. Okay, so I
got the trophy.
I did get the trophy. I and I was actually surprised because the amount of people. It's not like a difficulty trophy, like how they have like the silver. It's just a common one, I believe.
And if you know it's there, it's pretty easy to get.
Exactly. It's only like I think 13% of people have gotten it. And like I said, I got it by sheer luck. I was just climbing that area. It's on like a boat area near the water, and I just climbed the rocks, and there was a deer in my way. I was like, swipe, and I was like, oh, what's this?
Yeah, at the time I was looking online, and some other people had the same problem with me, and I guess they fixed it eventually with a patch, but at this point I'm just like so frustrated. I don't want to kill another goddamn goat in that game in my entire life, so...
I feel like it was like that scene in South Park where you just kept killing boars.
It was so depressing.
And over.
If you walked in the room and saw that, you would think I was like a criminally insane person, just like over and over. And then if you, God forbid, you ask me what I'm doing and I have to explain that to you.
Reminds me of the one time my friend tried to get me to play Final Fantasy 11. Now, I got a bad experience with the game because of this.
You're not the only one.
He just had me killing... I was just in a forest killing. I think it was actually boars, believe it or not, over and over again. I'm like, why am I doing this? And I had never played World of Warcraft at this point, not yet. And he's just like, oh, it's just to gain experience. It'll work better. And just never worked for me. Come to find out, Final Fantasy 11 was actually a beloved game by a lot of people. It was 15 that started off really bad, and then they brought in the people who made 11 to fix it. I guess Final Fantasy 15. I'm sorry, 14. 14.
Yeah,
Final Fantasy 14 is actually now
that's pretty fun
by a lot of people, especially with the expansions that have come out and all that stuff. But so yeah, I'm looking forward to beating up some goats, I guess.
Yes, you should. It's great. It's a lot of fun.
Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about today?
No, I think that's it for me.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right then. I am Andy Rhodes. You can find me at Highly and Andy on Twitter. Matt, where can people find you?
You can find me on Matt Talks Games on Twitter, or you can find me on Matt Talks Games on the Twitch.
And you can find me, Dan, on you can find me on Twitter, Game Review Guy.
I mean, you might be on Twitch eventually.
I do. I just haven't posted a lot of content at the moment.
All right, and that's it for the Mana Bar Gaming Podcast. Remember, health is important, but without your mana, you're as good as dead.
Oh my god. The little worst podcast.
I totally want to put this on the podcast.